Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of WooNews TV. I am your host, Julie Farha, and I'm super excited about today's show and about our guest. So today, we're going to be talking to Ariel Energy Healer, and she's going to help us understand more about energy so that we can use them to center ourselves and not let the external situations unground us and confuse us and stress us out so much, and also to be able to work with the energies and identify the energies so that we can continue to nurture our connection to source and to our spirit. Ariel has been my energy healer for 10 years at least, and she is self-taught. She's been doing this for over 25 years. She has her own method. I've done a lot of energy work, had a lot of it done to me and done some of my own, and Ariel's is very unique and very directly connected to source is what I've always felt with her work. So Ariel, you want to tell us a little bit about you before we have some fun?
That was great. I like that intro. Yeah, I'm self-taught. I spent a lot of time in a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere in West Virginia, just playing with energy and getting used to allowing my spirit guides, angels to move me, and then practiced on people, just tuning into their flow of their energy. And so basically, I just make sure nothing is clogged. There is nothing blocking your flow of, like you said, divine light pouring through you. So yes, I spend a lot of time making sure it's pouring through me, like a waterfall of yellow white light through me, but then I make sure that comes through me out of my hands to you and then activates your flow of your divine light. And that's the whole goal of being an energy healer. It's just getting everybody in that divine flow within themselves.
And hopefully, eventually, we can learn how to do it a little more ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Now,
I work on myself every day. I do things to keep my energy flowing every day.
I've talked so much about how everything is energy, and Albert Einstein taught us that, as well as other science as well. It's a scientific fact as in addition to a spiritual fact. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show was because that's a very abstract concept for a lot of people. Energy is abstract. Not all of us can see it. Not all of us can feel it, or at least we're not aware that we can. Yeah. So I'm hoping that with Ariel here, you all will have a better understanding of how energy works, what it is, what it feels like, maybe even have a visual for what it can look like, or how to recognize how it's moving through you or not moving through you as perhaps it should be in an ideal way.
Yeah, because a lot of times people just think they're in a bad mood and then they blame themselves. They have no idea why they're in a bad mood, but really their energy is completely blocked up and it's letting them know something's wrong. You're out of flow. You're out of sync.
So a bad mood is an indication that you're out of flow and out of sync?
Totally. It is one of the very first indicators. So for example, if you walk through a ghost, we're just going to jump right in here with your WooNews.
Now, remember, the idea of WooNews TV is to make spiritual concepts relatable. So we'll try to make some of this relatable.
If you walk through, say someone in your house has had a bad day and they're fuming and billowing this, gray energy. So it doesn't have to be a ghost. It can just be their bad mood billowing out. And then they walk into another room. You're come in the door and you walk right through that cloud. You don't know why, but you're suddenly in a really bad mood. Right. But when you're aware of energy, you just know all you need to do is clear it. It's not you. Same with the ghost. If you just feel suddenly really spooked out, freaked out, or your anxiety, or you're like, what is wrong with me? Or you feel angry. There could be you just walked through something like that and it needs cleared from your home.
What would somebody look like who's done that energetically, and how would you unclog them? And then how can they unclog themselves?
Yeah. So what's your first question? What would it look like if someone walked through energy with a bad mood? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Or yes. Who they were fine. They walked into a room, walked into a billow of energy, as you say, and it changed their state of mind.
Teenagers, for example, right? They absorb so much energy from everyone sitting around them in their classes. And then they hug each other, so then they come home and they just start throwing their backpack and their shoes and everything everywhere, as they also throw off all the other kids, teachers, bad energy, negative energy, their moods, their trauma all over your house. And it just could look like gray blobs or bubbles of energy. And as an energy healer, I was aware I was walking through them. I could feel like walking after a teenager. I could walk in the house and it slows me down a little if I walk through a bubble of
Oh,
emotion.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like I walked through air that is thicker. And I can feel, and then I feel myself walk out the other side of it too. And
Oh,
then I hit another one.
kind of like a movie, Ariel.
Right. And then the natural, like normal response, if you're not a healer, is you're just suddenly in a really bad mood.
Okay.
You don't know why. And it's because it moved through your body. And for a lot of people, it sticks in their body. Think of it as like jellyfish sticking to you, and you're inside this bubble, and there are many layers in the bubble. If your energy is not circulating and flowing high vibe, that's why everyone's addicted to talking about high vibe these days, because they know if you can stay high vibration, you can kick out all this negative stuff that's attaching to you. And like you said, we're in the war right now. The war is happening with Ukraine. That right there is terrifying enough when you see some of that to just come through your device, come through your technology, into you, onto you, in your energy bubble. So you don't have a nice, sweet bubble anymore. You just got this onslaught of negative information that hit you so hard. And then you're crying or you're having anxiety, but you don't know why. You just saw this thing. You're not attaching or connecting the dots that actually you have a huge amount of gray energy stuck to you, stuck to these centers of your body that should be filled with love and joy and deep breathing, right? And they get all clogged up and you can't breathe. You start having anxiety, you get depressed. And the goal is high vibration, keep everything flowing, because then it washes it off. That's
And
what
also
it is.
perhaps to be more mindful of the information that we consume.
Right. And we're at such a heightened point as a world that we are all checking in about once a day at the minimum, right?
Oh,
We are
news, social media, internet, friends, everything. It's constant barrage of external information that is affecting your vibration and your system.
Yeah, even if you try to limit it, just
Right.
be responsible. You're checking in at least, or at least talking to friends,
Right.
family. Yeah.
We want to know what's going on, but it's just be mindful of what that's doing to you so you can, as you say, move it out.
Exactly.
So can you describe, oh no, okay, so let's go back to that. So how do you get rid of that gray blob?
When you cook dinner, you have to clean that kitchen, right? When you eat dinner, you've got to clean up the table, right? Like you don't just leave it there for days. You've got to then follow through. It's the same with when we're exposed to negative energy. You have got to flush all of this out. So you can get an energy tune-up, like have me do a quick clearing on you, or your healer, anybody's healer, do their clearing on them, or you can do things like just breathe. I'll sit there and turn on beautiful music and just breathe deeply in and out, just because that gets those channels of light flowing. If they're flowing, they're starting to circulate. If they're circulating, they're going to kick out unwanted energy.
Nice. Okay.
Anything. Think of when you turn on the fan in your house, the central fan, it gets rid of the stagnant energy, the smells, it starts moving things around. You want that. If you can, if it's the right time of day, you can go for a walk. You could go out in nature and just let the energy of nature clear you, move it through. Just the act of walking, moving our legs and arms gets the channels moving. You start breathing more deeply. You can dance. Sometimes, Julie, I'll even, just to raise my vibe, watch hilarious videos of little kids on TikTok.
Whatever you got to do these days.
Hilarious little innocent kids doing funny things, like, we all have it. You can watch your pandas, whatever you watch.
Right. I watch dogs. I watch a lot of dogs.
What?
I watch a lot of dogs.
You do?
I like dog videos on Instagram. It
makes you laugh. Mm-hmm. You're raising your vibe. If your vibe, that means your energy is going from gray to bright, sparkly colors, yellow, it can be pastels. So that's why laughing really, really helps. I mean, sometimes you can just sit and pray and cry and release it, and that gets it moving. But then you've got the next step of raising your vibe.
Yeah, yeah.
You flushed it, but then you need to also become happy again.
And I don't think, from what I've seen with a lot of my clientele and just friends and acquaintances that I know, people don't really understand how sensitive they are, how much they absorb, or if they do, they don't know what to do with it. They don't even recognize when someone's infiltrated their bubble.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. And right now I have a lot of clients who will text in, because all my work is through text these days. And they'll text in and they'll just say things like, being an empath, this happened to me because I'm empathic. It's so nice to talk to another empath. I'm like, no, my whole practice is empathic. All the people who come are empathic. Like, so many people feel all this stuff. It's just that the empaths know what's happening.
So let's talk about how some energy looks in certain situations on people. So say you just had a fight with your mate. What does that look like? Is that specific enough for you to give us some visuals of what that looks like?
Yeah, so it depends who started it, right? So
Okay.
if I just had a client, this happened yesterday, someone texted in and said, Ariel, can you clear my husband and I didn't see it coming, but he's in a bad place again. But usually I see it coming. I didn't. That's all she told me, right?
Okay.
So I just look at, but a lot of times I'll just draw with pencil on paper, just so I can see the energy. I draw the energy so I can see it very, very clearly. So what I saw is all kinds of hurtful words. So a bunch of gray black energy hit her in her throat and chest. So that showed me what happened.
Is there a reason specifically why throat and chest?
The upper chest is actually the soul. So he must have said something very hurtful to hit her soul and not just the heart chakra in the chest. So sure enough, I texted her, this is what I see. And she's like, yeah, some really hurtful things were said to me out of the blue. Right. So I could see that happened. So then what I do, not only do I just pull and flush that out with my hands and breath, calling on angels to have them help me move that out. But then I just pour light into her and surround the couple with rings of light to bring them back into harmony again.
Nice. But I want to give people a visual for what you look like when you're grounded and centered and what the ideal look energy space is.
That's great. So there is a tube of light that moves down through the core of us. Think of your spine, right? Okay. And there is a tube of light that is your center, and it widens and widens, and it can become a waterfall of light through you. But just know that there is a real center, like a pole of light through you, that needs to be flowing at all times. Think of your spinal fluid. If it's not flowing, your brain is not getting any cerebral fluid, right? You've got to have this circulation and this flow, and that grounds us, right? And it makes us a bridge, a connection between heaven and earth. So it comes in and down into the ground that you're standing on, and then it actually circulates back around, and it just starts to make this donut shape around you with this core in the middle. Is that so cool?
You said to me before, right side is career side and left side, and the way you look at energy and work with energy, left is career and right is relationship side, any kind of
it's one way that I know where I am when I'm working on someone. Say I draw a stick figure of you to try to figure out what's going on with you, and I'm taken, my pencil's moved by my guides and angels to your right side. Okay. It just helps my brain to know it's probably about money and career. It's her warrior side. And then left, usually left shoulder, left side of the neck is relationship stuff. If it's like children, it'll show up in the left hip area, like someone you're caring for or taking care of, like your pet or your child. It's not exact. Sometimes it can be something different, like, yeah, your hip just hurts. But it gives me a general idea and a place to start asking questions.
So let's go back to this grounded part, because that's so important, especially it's more and more and more important. So that's what somebody looks like when they're grounded.
Yeah.
What do they look and or feel like when they're not grounded?
Floaty, just like we talked about a minute ago, like usually something is blocking the divine flow from getting all the way through.
Worry, stress.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a huge one I couldn't think of. Stress is one of the biggest reasons people are ungrounded.
Puts you in your head, so you're not in your feet.
fear,
Yeah.
get paralyzed. Yeah. And what it looks like when I work on them is this will all block up across here usually. And so light comes in and it just stops. It can't go down. And if you have light coming out your feet and between your feet, you're grounded, you're planted.
This is great. So what I'm hoping that the audience will start seeing is really how this looks in their system and recognize more, become more aware of when they are in worry or fear. Okay, this is what my energy looks like now. What are some quick ways they can start to move it? You said music, you said nature. You told me one time tapping your feet on the floor.
Oh, I do that a lot. I sit up really straight. I did it today, actually. It's one of the quickest ways I raise my vibe. So I turn on music. I know most people meditate in silence, but sometimes I sing, but I shake my legs like I'm nervous and I let my upper body kind of sway, and it just gets your breathing moving and it gets the energy all the way through your legs because you're bouncing them and through your feet. But whereas I found that when I would just sit and meditate in silence, I could stay stuck for a long time because the energy's here.
Me too.
Nothing's
I use sometimes by my body sometimes kind of moves and I circulate a little bit. I just go with what's happening with the music, and I end up feeling so much lighter when I'm done. I probably look a little crazy and weird, but that's just what happens.
By yourself anyway. And
Yeah,
you know that usually when you're meditating, you're by yourself, you know.
Yes, typically.
Morning practice, bedtime practice. Yeah. And dancing is so helpful. I mean, just moving and dancing just gets all the channels moving.
Okay, let's talk. There's two other things I definitely want to cover, perhaps more, but let's talk about what you look like when you've lost a loved one, there's been a death in your family, either suddenly or long term, whichever one you want to do first.
Yeah, they're so different. Like if you've lost someone suddenly, it can just rip out some of the protective screens or mesh. So there are many layers to the energy bubble, and the layers are not like a slab of any of light or a wall. They're actually mesh woven layers. Think of your shirt and all the little fine fabrics in it, or your couch pillows, like all the little things that make it a surface. We've got those made of light in our field. And so those screens cover different openings. So your heart is an opening. Well, it has nice protective mesh over it. But when someone dies that you're so in love with, family or a friend, when that flashlight beam of a connection of a cord to them is yanked out suddenly, unexpectedly, it just rips those screens right open. And that's why some people start crying and can't stop.
Okay, I'm going to give a personal experience here. So Ariel, I worked with Ariel. My father passed away from a 3.5-year illness, and it wasn't unexpected. And I worked with her often, especially the last few weeks of his life and after he did make his transition. And I remember you telling me that I had some tears. So even if it's not sudden, there's still some tears. And I don't recall, it was so helpful. I didn't work with her when I lost my little dog, which is going to sound very strange, but, and the grief was immense. Now the grief with my father was still very bad, but it wasn't excruciating. I could still breathe. It didn't take me down. It wasn't those, I can't breathe constantly. And when my mother passed away last year, that was unexpected. I don't remember what you saw when you worked with me, Ariel, because you were doing hour-long sessions when my father died, and this one you're just doing tune-ups. So I don't remember what that looked like, but it was such a different dynamic. But I know that it helped me be able to breathe through my grief, because the grief is still there. I still live with it every day, but I can most of the time I can breathe. Once in a while I get my breath taken away, but it's minimal because of what you've done with my mesh.
Yes, because for example, when someone dies suddenly and unexpectedly, it can rip the whole thing out. But when someone dies, like your father, and you knew it was coming, you're preparing, it tears some of them. You get tears or tatters in some of that mesh. And so as an energy healer, I come in and I'm repairing behind you as you go. And it helps you to handle it, to deal with it.
What I love about, part of what I love about her work, to everyone, is she gives you an explanation for why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And it makes complete sense. And I have never found it to be inaccurate. It makes complete sense, and things you wouldn't even have thought of. So it's really helpful, and it just helps keep you flowing and moving. And it also shows you the contrast of when you're not.
Yeah.
You've had a tune up and you get back into your space and your bubble. Now you have a contrast of, okay, this is this is the ideal place. And then a few minutes later, or 2 hours later, or the next day, something comes in to unroot that. You can recognize that a little more easily because you've had that time in that space.
Exactly. Yeah. The reason I like the energy tune-ups, which aren't, they're not in person, they're not on the phone, they're just through text. And I'll do sometimes 50 of them a day. People will just text in and just say, hey, I have heartbreak and here's a photo of myself. And then I'll quickly clear them. Just takes me a couple of minutes, text them what I saw. And one reason I like the tune-ups is that people can get them daily. They can get them every couple of days. They can get them once a week. Like they can get them on the run. Someone was getting on a plane this morning, had a UTI and was freaking out. I was able
Miserable.
to I was able to help her anxiety a bit, help her bladder, help everything to just calm down and on the go, right? Some people call it their angel in their pocket. They feel like in their pocket. And yeah, and what you said too about how it's helpful to hear from me or a healer what this looks like, what's going on with you energetically, is think of kids and animals, like they can't express it. And and like a teen who won't speak, it's so helpful to have an energy healer come in and go, oh, this happened to them.
So let's talk about prayer for a minute.
Okay.
So to the audience, my version, my visual of God is not the old man sitting on a puffy cloud, doling out mercy and judgment. To me, because I'm kinesthetic, God source creator is the highest vibration that exists. So I feel that vibe, I feel that energy. So when I'm praying, I'm literally working with those energies and pull them into a person, into a situation, into me, to lift it, to bring clarity, to illuminate it, to just feel better. So it's really about the energies. I don't know if yours is similar, but you have said in the past, especially when we did our earlier work, you would say, oh, you've been praying a lot on this, I can tell. So it does something. So prayer, the reason I want to talk about this is I want people to see what working with those energies does to your field and yourself.
This right here is probably the most important thing anybody can hear. This is an amazing concept you've brought up, because there's one person, no, there are two right now, two women in my practice right now, who I can say to them, you've been praying, haven't you? And it shows, and they get so excited because life is hard, right? They're both business women with children, and their children have special needs, and they're married. Like, it is a lot of demand on these women. So I get it. They don't have time to get up in the morning and pray, but when they make time to just get up in the morning and just get into that God space, I think both of them might be Christian. A lot of Christians will use me, thank goodness, for energy healing, but it does not matter what religion they are. Because to me, like you said, it's a man with a beard judging. It is just like the sunlight. Think of the heavens as sparkly gold and white, right? It's that sparkly light, the reflection off of the ocean water, right? That kind of light coming into you when you pray. When people just start calling on whatever they call God, universe, when they call in their spirit guides or angels or whatever, ancestors, whatever they believe in, it begins that divine flow of high vibration through them. And then their day is so much easier. The same stuff can happen. Right. Business meetings gone awry, but they are just graceful through those meetings, flowing right through them, leading the pack, their team. They're a different person when they have that open.
You can see that in their field.
The crown vortex in the top of the head. So it is the opening of that pole, that center we talked about. Mm-hmm. But it widens too, and it widens like this, like a vortex, and it spins. Cool. And when you guys have been praying, that vortex is huge. And not only is it huge, it's not, your head isn't filled with worry. Your head isn't congested with black energy because it's stuck. It is streaming.
Clears out your mind.
Yeah, it does. It clears your mind because, that vortex goes right through the head.
I have
Yeah.
found myself even like in a situation at a meeting or even at the gym in a class or going into a stressful interaction with someone, I will call on the light in my mind over and over and over again to get me in that place and just in my mind, in the middle of a dinner party or something if I need to.
Yes.
Nobody
Yeah.
knows you're doing it, but it really makes a difference.
And it shifts the other person, doesn't it?
Yes, and yourself, but definitely the other person, the whole dynamic.
You see everything around you start to change because you create this vibration of peace.
And you have impact. We have impact.
Yeah, because our bubble is around us and people are in that bubble.
Bouncing off of everybody else's bubbles.
Yeah, merging, passing through each other's energy. Yeah.
So what are a couple of takeaways you would give to people regarding energy, what to do with it, what it does for them?
A routine of how you keep your house clean, when you have your meals, when you go to bed. Those really help ground you. If you feel like you're ungrounded up here or stressed and you just can't breathe deeply, get off all technology. Just even if it's just for 20 minutes, set a timer and just say you're going to walk around the house for 15-20 minutes and just pick up things, just declutter. It doesn't matter what it looks like when you're done. It's the practice of just touching things, picking things up, being present and noticing what's around you and getting off of the stressors, like the
How we will get more grounded and recognize when that shifts.
Exactly. And then you become addicted to it. You don't want to ever not feel grounded.
I have told so many people your story that you told me years ago about how when you first started doing this work 25 plus years ago, you set your watch to go off every hour to check in and see how grounded you were. And I tell them, I follow this with, I am not that disciplined, but it's a really good idea.
I did, but you're also super busy. I was home with little kids at that time, living in the
That's
middle.
not busy.
Going true, but I was a stay-at-home mom, like living in the middle of nowhere in the country, in West Virginia. So I had that kind of ability to check that timer and stop and breathe and move my feet and jump up and down and wiggle, put my feet in the sand or dirt outside, trying to get that energy to come down through.
And I do tell my clients to try to make a point, even set your phone to go off twice a day and check in with how you're feeling, how you're breathing, what you're doing.
Also, just having built-in routines that are grounding. So for example, there's a time of day where sunlight hits a certain room in my house. I have a yoga mat sitting there. I sit on it with something to drink every day, by a bunch of plants that I have in there. And I just breathe and feel that sun. That thing, built-in routines, like the walk happens every day. That just helps you, exercising certain times of day, that just helps you stay grounded naturally.
Well, and some of us who have ADD, it's really those built-in routines are really, really helpful because it's harder for us to stay grounded anyway, I've noticed.
Yeah. Oh, I see. You're saying there's routines are super helpful. Yeah. I think I have ADD. I never knew, but my daughter is a mental health nurse practitioner. She's like, Mama, pretty sure you're ADD. The way you raised us with all these routines and schedules, and she's like, and I'm pretty sure we all have it too. And she's like,
otherwise we just fly.
I always had a routine and games I played with timers and everything. So I never knew I was. My kids never knew they were.
Oh, how funny.
ADD. Yeah.
How funny. Okay, is there anything else you would like to share before we tell everyone how to find you and all the great stuff you can offer?
I just want to say I love what you brought up about when you pray, it changes how your energy looks, and
it really does make a difference. That's what I wanted to hit home with people, is it's not just fluff, it's not just lip service. It really has an impact. If we all could see energy, we would know that.
And you can pray any way you want. And that's why people notice people who pray or are spiritual. They feel them and they want to be around them. They can feel the unseen. And so it doesn't matter how you do it. You can sing, you can chant in Arabic. It doesn't matter how you are going to connect to your divine. When the moon rises through a certain window in my house, I stop everything, turn off the lights, and I sit there and watch it rise. And I just imagine that yellow light moving into me. That's, prayer, visualization, meditation, doesn't matter. It's works.
Ariel and I have some similar some similarities in our background. And the religion I was raised in is Eastern Orthodox, and I don't participate in it anymore. But when I'm back with my family, sometimes I do. And I love the music. I love the choir, and I love some of the prayers through the choir. So sometimes I'll actually sing those.
Oh,
Even
nice.
if it's not in the purview of my actual belief, the resonance of it, the feeling of it, I love it. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It is so beautiful. My brother is a truck driver and he remembers the East Orthodox Church chanting.
Mhm.
And he will chant. He doesn't even know the language, but he just makes it up and he just chants in this truck at night and he's connecting to the divine.
Right.
You don't have
Dogma
to.
of it is irrelevant. It's just that resonance.
You can do this wherever, whenever, just get that power flowing through you.
So how can people find you?
ArielEnergyHealer.com. The meditations are so that if you need, I didn't used to offer these quick tune-ups, and that's on there too. How to get a quick tune-up, how to pay. You can pay on there, everything. They're super cheap, $25.
Super cheap.
Super cheap. Or a package of 5 is $100 at this time anyway, 2020, March 2020.
Right.
But the
2022.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted a way for people without getting an hour-long healing. I wanted them to have a quick way to feel like they had an energy clearing. And they're just 10-minute little audios of me praying, visualizing, describing the energy, and kind of working, doing some energy work. So that's what those are for.
And your Instagram?
Instagram is Ariel.EnergyHealer.
She has some fun stuff on her Instagram account.
I'm new to Instagram, but I am having fun with it. I really like just sharing visualizations on there, little quick things you can do to raise your vibe energetically.
Okay, so go to her website to find out how to get a tune-up. I highly, highly, highly recommend them. Look at her Instagram page. And I think Ariel will probably be back because we were chatting. Yes, was it yesterday we were talking 2 days ago? And we have all kinds of other content we can share. There's all kinds of things we can talk about here.
And who knows how many tangents we went on today and like,
yeah.
So ask Julie if she asked me something and I only answered part of it, just ask her and we'll do another one.
We definitely want feedback on these questions. That you can reach me at Julie at WooNews TV and put an Ariel in the heading or something like that, and we will get you the information you need to know and clarify whatever questions we have left behind or created.
Thank you so much, Julie.
Okay, that was fun. I hope you all found that beneficial. I have had such benefit from working with her and from listening to her over the years, and she's so practical and matter of fact about it, which helps us bring energy into a more of a tangible, tactile focus, which I think is helpful because it seems so abstract. And I do believe many of us can sense energies. We just aren't aware of that. So hopefully through some of these shows, you will become more aware of your own ability to do that. Thanks so much. See you soon.